The Health Professionals Council is being criticised for the collapse of a hearing involving a serial offending doctor. It failed to appoint a committee to deal with a Cape Town gynecologist facing charges of fraud, incompetence and practicing beyond the scope of the profession. Dr. Guinness Anil Ramdeen has been suspended 3 times and fined twice. But for reaction to this, we're not joined by former president of the council, that's Dr. Hosi Letlape. Doc, thank you so much for your time and a warm good morning to you. Now, I'm sure you've seen the widespread criticism against the HPCSA and their handling of this matter. Different industry leaders, whether in medical or even in academia, different health bodies saying that the HPCSA is, showing incompetence and inconsistency in approaching complaints. I mean, what is your perspective and view on this, particularly with this case I'm talking of?
Good morning to you and to the viewers. I think with respect to this case, the Secretariat of the HPCSA needs to explain what went wrong. That unit of complaints management is the one that proves to be problematic. We've made certain improvements, but there are still serious challenges in that unit. And I think one of the problems is that the scope of control in the HPCSA is too big. And as was recommended by the Mayosi Commission, it's time the minister took up those recommendations and implemented them.
And speaking of the Mayosi, commission that you speak of, the late Professor Bongani Mayosi had previously mentioned as a leader in the task team appointed by the then Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, that the council is in a mess, Doc. He also said that, the council could not deliver effectively and disciplinary processes had to be, taken against those managers who were not effective. Did the turnaround strategy, which was meant to be implemented back in 2017, show, effectiveness in dealing with some of these challenges?
There are areas of great improvement, but there are areas that remain stubborn, like the issue of complaints management remains stubborn. We've done a lot in terms of moving the HPCSA into the current era. We have got written off paper, we've improved the IT system, so there's great strides in terms of registration of practitioners and other functions of cancer. But the biggest problem as identified by the Commission is that the Health Professions Council is too important a structure to fail, but it is too big to function properly. And as was recommended then, and as has come from the Medical and Dental Board, it is time that the Medical Council be restored to be a council on its own, just like you have a nursing council and a pharmacy council. The current structure is that you basically have 13 companies with one CEO. So the span of control is too large for there to be any control at all.
Right.
If you look at the fact that this hearing has collapsed, the CEO and registrar has to take full responsibility for a collapse, because regulation should be regular. If things are prescribed in terms of how a committee should be composed, how could you bungle a simple aspect like that? Yeah. So the Secretariat can't cope, and it needs to be urgently rearranged.
Doc, I have to come in there before I let you go. What do you think it would take for the HPCSA to clear its name, to clear its reputation? Because you make mention that it's too unimportant of a body for it to collapse. It needs restoration. What do you think it would take for them to restore their image, particularly when medical practitioners are saying it seems those that are breaking the law, that is medical practitioners, don't have consequences. They don't, it seems they just get a slap on the wrist. But ethical medical doctors are hunted down. And they are the ones actually that are working ethically. How do you think the HPCSA can address this?
I think it's not really the HPCSA that addresses that. It should be the profession sticking to the facts. We are self-regulating. The committees are made up of members of the profession. The sanctions come from the profession. So people need to be careful. The profession needs to be careful. Unless the profession says we are totally incompetent and we cannot self-regulate, then that would be a different discussion. The issue is that things are done on their merits. There are many problems that have arisen. These processes, instead of being professional inquiry processes, have turned into legal processes. As you've seen what happens in our legal system, That legality has to be taken out, and we got to restore professionalism and professionality. And this have to be professional inquiries where we're looking at professional conduct of practitioners and responsibilities of practitioners rather than the legal rights of practitioners. It has to be brought to the basics. But did you conduct yourself in a manner that is to be expected from a professional in terms of the standards set by your peers? And that is what has gone out. And it has now become a legal minefield where there are legal arguments that are being presented. There are legal processes that are causing delays. We need to go back to basics. Have a proper confined medical counsel that follows the prescripts of the law. We should go back to the professional rules that have now been overridden by legal considerations.
All right, Dr. Hlape, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for your time. That was for